Turn it up,
dude.
yo.
We're hanging out with some friends of yours today.
Yeah, I spoke at One Tom Plumber's owners roundtable over in the Carolinas, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks ago or so, and I was able to hang out with all those dudes and a bunch of restorers, and it was really fun. And a fair bit of the time, I got to hang out with Alvaro, who's kind of the Rocky's right-hand guy. He's a shapeshifter. He does a lot of things in the business, but
really sales and marketing kind of.
Yeah,
oriented,
sales and
right?
marketing and some project management, like event management and stuff like that. But anyway, we had a great conversation, and we talked about, hey, let's get you on the show. And he brought Leah.
Yeah,
who's
she's a powerhouse.
Yeah, so Leah, lots of history with Rocky, icon restoration, and then obviously with the startup of One Tom. And what we do, it's fun. I mean, obviously people who listen to the show, they heard the show with Rocky. It was fun.
Yeah,
butt tattoos, cardboard to butt tattoos, or something like
that's
that.
right. Yeah, I think that's exactly.
Butt tattoos comes up again, by the way. But so this isn't a One Tom podcast. It's really like we kind of pull back the curtain, and you and I get a chance to explore with Leah and Alvaro what actually makes up kind of that internal culture they have. Right. Because when you and I, we went to Discovery Day, we went to Cincinnati, we checked out the One Tom headquarters and Icon, all the things, and you and I both came away with, wow, there's something special going on here.
Lessons learned for sure.
And to be able to sort of pick Alvaro and Leah's brain on their own experience with Rocky and Cameron and the other key figures on the team, it's a really interesting conversation.
For sure.
And there's stuff here that I think any leader can apply to whatever service business they have. There's some pretty cool nuggets in there. So
and it's from the team member's perspective, which is the whole point.
That's right. Yeah. Absolutely. So
all right.
Check it out.
Let's go.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Head, Heart, and Boots podcast. Today, we have Leah Hanlon and Alvaro Leal from One Tom Plumber. And I've been looking forward to this conversation. It was actually just, 3-4 weeks ago. Now, Leah, you didn't come to the Owners Roundtable.
I was not there. I
unfortunately missed out. But Alvaro and I got to hang out, which was very fun, and Ben and some of the rest of the crew. But yeah, you guys had a Owners Roundtable event in the Carolinas, and my favorite part, apart from getting to talk, because I like to hear myself talk.
That's always the favorite.
I had a good 2-hour stint that I could just talk, and that was super fun. But but my other part of the event that was my favorite was the go-kart night. That was the first time I've driven gas-powered go-karts. In fact, I want to say the only other time I've done go-karts was Disneyland, which is super lame. The bumper cars or whatever.
I don't think that qualifies.
These were not bumper cars, because I got hit at some point and I was hurting for a whole week after that.
There's real whiplash damage potential on
this
these
was
go-karts.
A real racetrack, and these were real vehicles going topping out at 50-55 miles per hour.
Holy cow.
So yeah, I lost control and slid into the tire wall at one point. It was legit, and it was so awesome. I'm like, man, I got to find one of these places here in Oregon so I can take my boys so we can go have a boys' day racing. But anyway, so that was really fun. And gosh, there was a race. There was probably 25 owners that were out there all racing. That was
way more. We had about 40 people racing between each other. Yeah.
Nice.
And Mike McShane, if you're listening to this, I'm coming back to you because you really hurt me that one time. That was totally revenge. I don't know. He hit me from behind. There was no reason why he should have done that. I'm still a little heartbroken about that.
He was just trying to draft you, man. That's it.
Yeah.
No harm, no foul. He was just drafting.
Yeah. So, this is one of the things I wanted to talk about is just the culture, because, Brandon and I had an opportunity last year to come to a Discovery Day. And let's just suffice this. We're not going to air all of One Tom Plumber's dirty laundry. But, there were some moments, some cultural moments that surprised us, that we found super fun and interesting. I think there's a casualness and an authenticity to the One Tom Plumber team that is really fun, and Brandon and I really enjoyed. There's an honesty and authenticity about kind of who you guys are across the whole team, including Rocky and Cameron and so forth, that just really stood out to Brandon and I. And there's some operational excellence built into there as well that we were equally impressed by, but the culture was really distinct to us. And so I thought, today it'd be really fun to, we've heard Rocky's kind of version of sort of the coming of age experience with One Tom and the early days. But we thought it'd be really fun to hear from you guys, what your experience has been with the company. Obviously, Leah, you're one of the OG team members.
Yeah.
That's right.
Coming originally from Icon, and Alvaro, you're the latecomer, so to speak, compared to Leah. So we just thought that might be a fun direction for us to take. So I don't know where we want to start with that, but maybe we start with the Discovery Day experience that Brandon and I had. Can you guys unpack a little bit, like internally as a team, what is the mindset and the conversation around when you get a bunch of potential owners in front of you? Like, what's your goal? What are you guys trying to communicate and stuff during that Discovery Day? Because I know culture is so important. You guys are really hunting for the right culture fit. You're like equally observing and interviewing these potential franchisees. But to unpack how you guys think about those Discovery Days.
Absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head when you said, we're kind of interviewing each other, because that is what our Discovery Day is about.
Yeah.
When we are building our One Ton Plumber franchise network, we're creating a family, and we want like-minded people, and we want people that we like and we want to spend time with and get to know on a personal level and do fun things with outside of working hours. So it's really important to us when people come to town, we get to know them on a personal level. We want to know about their family. We want to know about their hobbies and their crazy stories from the past. It's funny how many of them are so similar to what Rocky is like in his stories from the past.
Yeah, I remember distinctly, because at this time when we were there, we weren't just there like undercover. We actually were there and kind of taking a real serious look at what it would look like to participate in this and be a part of that network. And I remember, like, after most of day one, I don't know if we went to it was like first dinner or something that we went to. I remember, like, the whole time in the back of my mind, I'm like, I wonder if they would choose me. I wonder if they would choose me. It's like, and now I'm kind of looking back and going, geez, man, it was like a first high school date. Like, I was on pins and needles, like trying to find out hints. Like, did we fit the team mold? Like, would we have been accepted? And for those of you listening, they actually chose not to take us on, so it was pretty sad.
We left that dream behind.
That's not totally true.
They boycotted us, so it didn't work out. But
yeah, we were also there with one of our existing consulting clients, and they were looking at investing in a One Tom, and so that was a unique experience for us, because we were there with a client and we were also there ourselves, kind of thinking, well, maybe this is a smart side investment for Brandon and I. So,
I have a question.
Yes,
yeah,
ask it.
So, and Leah, this is really for you again, being kind of part of the OG team. I know that you have history, obviously, with Rocky and the gang as part of your relationship with Icon, but like, from your perspective, being, a downline, if you will, from kind of the leadership group and being a recipient, if you will, of this kind of created culture, this intentional culture, just give us your perspective. Like, what are you experiencing? What makes you stick around? Why are you continuing to be motivated by this team and where the team is headed? Like, it's easy for owners to talk about how great the culture is, but as somebody that's living and breathing inside that, what's that experience been for you?
Exactly. And you just said it, living and breathing inside of it. That's what we get to do every day. And I get to do that with some of my best friends. Like, truly, people always say that, you've got your family, but then there's your work family. And I think they are a family, no doubt, but they're also like my best friends. They're the people I spend the most amount of time with. And, it's like, even if we're not talking about work, we're getting together and talking about something else. I was just with Angie and we're talking about a trip to Africa she's planning. And I'm so vested in it. I'm like, I want to be on that trip with you. So we just, I think we truly and genuinely care about one another, about what we're doing inside our work, but also what we're doing outside of work with our family, and which is us.
No, absolutely. And I wanted to add something. I had a conversation with one of my old friends from college a long time ago, and they were complaining constantly, like, I have this coworker this coworker's doing that, and when they don't have that relationship, it's like, you have the same thing one time, and I'm like, yeah, like I can go have a drink with whoever I want in my office, and hang out, we go on trips. One of the things Ben, who runs the supply division of one, we really good friends in college, and he was actually the reason why I wanted to come work here because of the culture that they had. Me being from another country, from Spain actually, and I came here. My family is very far away from the U.S. And when I
Stop trumpet.
Yeah. Good to go.
Yeah. Go ahead, Alvaro.
you want me to go back to the whole thing?
Yeah, just kind of restart. Yeah.
Hey, so one of the things I completely agree with Leah. Like I was having a conversation with one of my old friends from school, and he was mentioning that, oh gosh, like I've had this problem with this coworker. These people are not doing the work they're supposed to do. It's really annoying, super frustrating. He was like, you you have the same thing going on, right? And I'm like, no, I've never had that problem with anybody at work. Everybody is like family to us, and me especially being from another country and coming to the U.S. and spending quite a few years here. Like I'm very far away from my family, and when I first came to Wanton Plumber, I felt like I was right at home. And an example is Ben Grunstein. He runs the supply and branding division for us. He's such an amazing guy. He gets the job done. So he's someone that you definitely will want to work with. And he's the reason why I'm here. He sold me in the culture. He sold me in the team. He didn't tell me like, oh, we're going to do great things. He was like, dude, you're going to feel that you're at home.
You know, it's interesting too because unless you've been around, let's say your guys's these different events that you put on to introduce the brand to folks, like there is not a lack of standards or commitment to accountability either. Like it's not like a all relationship and no teeth behind expectations. So like, and I think Alvaro, for you, this is probably kind of interesting to hear your perspective. A lot has to be communicated pretty quickly, I'm assuming, when you enter the team, right? So like you're getting this culture dump, you're getting also like all the standards that we have to follow, and this is what we're going to do, and here's our commitments. From your perspective, getting both those messages, if you will, simultaneously, how were they balancing that? Like, how did you hear like both you're wanted and this is an important relationship and we want you to be part of the team, and in addition to that, you're hearing, yeah, but these are standards and here are expectations that you're going to be held to. Like, how was that received by you? What was that message like?
That's a great question. Definitely, it's been a constant learning experience on both ends. We keep learning. Is we have a culture that we're trying to get better every single day. So there's always something new that we need to figure it out. So it's not always going to be like, oh my gosh, this is so easy to do. We're going to get all these standards and values put together in place and go with that culture right away. It's a constant learning experience. And by the amazing team that we have, and with all the other franchisees that join our network, it made it really easy to get those ideas together and spread them out to the whole group.
Go ahead. I'm going to fight for questions because I have another one.
Well, Alvaro, I think it's, when we were at this owners roundtable event, you were kind of in charge of that event. Am I right?
Correct.
Like Rocky assigned that to you, and you were basically the owner of it, getting all the details put into place, and then the on-site management of kind of, there was a whole timeline to the 3 days of the event. And I remember at one point, I don't remember the exact context, but there was some transition between the daytime event and the next thing that we were going to in the evening, and you and Rocky had a brief exchange, and Rocky's like, "Hey, dude, this is your event. You figure it out." and I imagine you probably hear that from him a lot. But
Yeah.
you're a relatively young man. I mean, in your career, and you've stepped into this. From what I've seen, kind of a generalist executive role. Like Rocky deploys you in a number of different directions, and I'm just curious for you. Can you talk about that experience a little bit more of like working with or for Rocky in that way, and maybe an example of where you didn't get it right, and how Rocky responded, or how you guys navigated.
Which part?
Right? Well, yeah, all of it. Just speak into that relationship, because I think it's a lot of times as owners, we we delegate something to somebody, or we give somebody ownership over a certain area, but then we get in and we meddle and we sort of co-own it with them,
Mhm.
which has its own set of problems. And Rocky seems to be very deliberate about, no, dude, that's your thing, and him staying out of the stuff that he's delegated. So I'm just curious for you to talk about what that's like.
Absolutely. No, I think it's great, especially because it makes you feel that they trust you and he wants to let you do your thing because he knows you're going to get it done and you're going to do a good job with it. And it's one of the things that I've been enjoying with working with Rocky and Cameron too when I first came on board a couple years ago is that my role has been evolving to the point that Leah and I run the sales division and the marketing for the franchise development side. And we have a team that we're leading and is helping us achieve our goals for the year. And that's one of the things that Rocky appointed me at some point, and I was not expecting that at all as my role kept evolving. So it shows that they trust you and they want you to grow, and there's those opportunities. And outside of work too, as I came here being Ben's friend, 'cause that was my role. That was like, that's Ben's friend. And I kept evolving with all the marketing, franchise development, and national conventions and sponsorships that I dealt with my previous experience in Chicago. He will take me to family trips with them. They will take me to their lake house. They will take me on trips and go spend time with their families. So they really care about you and they brought you as one of their own. So it's been an amazing experience. It's one of the reasons why, first off, I have a plunger tattoo on my butt. And I was actually the first one that got it. If someone says otherwise, it's not true. Cameron offered it to me at a lake trip that we did. And he was like, come on, dude, I'm doing your green card. And I'm like, all right, I'll get a plunger tattoo on my ass.
I wonder where Randy Williams
I'm
is in
doing
this order.
He said, I'm doing your green card. You're going to get a tattoo.
And I say yes. That's literally what happened. Like, I'm not kidding. We were on a boat, we were having a couple drinks, and Cameron was like, you're gonna get a plunger tattoo. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I don't want to have a plunger tattoo. And I'm like, come on, dude, I'm doing your green card.
What choice did he have?
So I had to. But
Oh my gosh.
going back to that, it's been a great experience. Something that as the rate that we're growing and we're bringing more people in, it's just fun to come to work. It's challenging, obviously, and it comes with a lot of new things that you got to work on and put together, whether it's the creative side, marketing, franchise development, or whatnot. It's just fun to do this stuff.
One thing I think I can add, though, from an outsider perspective, or even from my own experience in the growth of the company, is Rocky does put full trust in you. He's like, I'm handing this over to you, Alvaro. You got this, or Leah, you've got this, and he knows nobody's perfect, right? We're all going to make mistakes, but he allows you to fail forward. He never beats you up if something doesn't turn out the way that he expected it or he wanted it. He's like, okay, not exactly what I thought was going to happen. Let's do it this way next time. He doesn't beat you down. He lifts you up and says, you did a great job here. Let's change this next time.
I agree.
That's interesting because I wanted to get into that a little bit because obviously we're not perfect and we are going to fall down. And I don't know if you guys know this or not. Leah, probably you do because you've been around in that partnership for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
What is he doing from the perspective of, like, do you see him mitigating the downside to a failure when he's handing something off like that? Like, is he aware ultimately, like, hey, if this ends up being a 5 out of a 10, what does this mean? And what are the ramifications like that? Does any of that come up in the conversation and preparation for the handoff? Like, what's that experience look like?
To be honest, my perspective, I think he just kind of takes a leap of faith and puts that trust in you and doesn't really think about what those consequences could be. Because this isn't life or death. If you screw up, nobody's dying here, right?
Yeah.
So it's not that big of a deal, but we always use everything as a learning experience. Every single event we do, every meeting we have, we always talk about
Lessons learned.
lessons learned. What can we do better next time? How can we improve? So it's never a beat down. It's always, let's just change it and get better next time.
And
So it's
you would
not
think that.
necessarily that they're. Oh, sorry, Alvaro. Go ahead.
Oh, my bad. So, and to that, you would think that Rocky's very experienced in this industry, and he's the first one that after we're done with an event or like a sales call or whatever it is, he's like, how can I get better? it's part of our culture, the lessons learned. We sit down and he goes like, come on, give it to me. What can I do better? So that's part of our culture as well.
So it's like safe to learn.
Yeah.
Essentially,
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's funny because I think even the way I framed that question, you can tell default, right? It's like, oh, well, I can hand off trust, but I got to mitigate the downside. Like, what are the damages? What's the likelihood of something going wrong? And
Yeah.
I think there's plus and minuses with that. Obviously, like you don't want to
Mhm.
throw over the keys, to the car if it can legitimately get you in the business in a place of real significant downside. But I think just that idea that what I'm hearing you guys say is we'll take a chance. And though we all need to be very prepared to do an immediate after action review and talk about what needs to change before we do it that way again. And that's okay. Like you guys trust that process because there's some front loaded trust on your part to like go give it a shot. Is that fair? Am I like summarizing?
You're
that?
100% spot on.
That's
Yeah,
sweet.
I feel like that's my observation of Rocky. I mean, he's obviously, I mean, a lot of people listening to this have heard of Rocky, they've heard of Icon, and obviously more and more people are hearing about One Tom, but he seems to be the guy where one of his key talents is selling people, getting really sharp, awesome, capable people sold on the vision, and then letting them do their thing. Like just like you said, trusting, just extending trust proactively and giving people a chance to shine. And it seems like across the board. I mean, all Aaron and all of the other people that we've engaged with and Ben, like it's just it creates a really positive atmosphere. And your comment that I can almost hear Rocky saying this. Hey, this isn't rocket science. This isn't life and death. Somebody screws something up. We mess up something at one of our events. Like, come on, this is just business. We're going to learn and we're going to move on. That attitude is not necessarily a common attitude amongst owners. You know, we can get really caught up in everything looking a certain way and being perfect and no mistakes, not realizing that can really hurt our culture. And you guys have kind of the opposite. It's like, hey, let's not get too crazy about anything. Let's just have fun. Let's do our best and learn as we go. I'm curious, does it ever blow up? You know, like, do you guys ever have like real messes that come out of things that do cause some problems for the team? And then what does that look like, sound like for you guys to work through that? I'm curious.
That's good.
Does it ever get ugly?
Having a hard time qualifying like a real screw up because I honestly don't feel like there has been one. Are there times where everybody doesn't see eye to eye? Of course. You know, and sometimes some opinions get a little bit louder than others. But at the end of the day, like there's never a boxing ring involved, right? We're not duking it out. We're civilized. We're talking about it. We're taking turns sharing our opinion and then kind of taking votes and figuring it out.
I agree. One of those when those things happen or getting close to be, we need to figure this out. Is when we bring the whole team together in a big conference room, and everyone gives their point of view, their insights. What can we do better as a team? And we let everybody talk and give their thoughts because by hearing other people's thoughts that you would never probably ask before, you're gonna come to a conclusion and have a different perspective on what the problem really was, and maybe it wasn't that big of a deal. And other people might agree on something that you weren't, and then you realize that I should have taken a different stand then. So that's what we really do. We make sure we stop before it gets messier, and we figure out as a team, and then we move forward.
Yeah, so interesting. Okay, so one of the things that ultimately business owners are hopeful of is that when they mirror certain types of behavior or kind of posture, right? Like how well the team does, buying into that and then becoming that force multiplier down line, like repeating that same message and taking that similar stance. Can you get both of you? This would be great to hear from both your guys' perspective. What are kind of one or two things that you guys experienced, obviously latched onto and saw value in, and have made like a real intentional part of how you're interacting with downline people, downline team members, and your peers to kind of with that commitment to sustaining that culture? Does that make sense? Question make sense?
I think so. Did you get it? Do you want to answer?
I was just waiting for you to answer first.
Well, I mean, I think what I'm hearing is, how has that leadership affected the way that we also lead downstream,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, for sure.
And I always feel like I'm kind of going back to what I said before. Rocky will always give you that power, let you make decisions, and let you fail forward. And so I've taken that same style and my approach. And anybody that I work with, we're training and we're talking about the kind of culture we want to build. Those are the words I use. Those are the things I share. Like, don't be afraid to take risks. Don't be afraid to try something new. Don't be afraid to make a mistake, because that's how you learn. That's how you get better. So it's just all about being open and embracing those mistakes, learning from them and moving forward. We just don't want people to be fearful. We want you to be creative. We want you to think outside the box. We want you to bring something new to the table that maybe we haven't thought of. Everybody gets kind of stuck in their comfort zone. So, when we're bringing new people into the team and we're growing HQ, we want to bring fresh ideas and we want them to talk about them. So don't be afraid to share your ideas. We're going to listen. We may not accept it right away, but we're going to
Right. Yeah.
listen.
And absolutely, it's what we try with the sales team that we are leading. We want them to like try new things, and we want them to fail forward. We want to try new things. We know that some of those are not going to work out, but sometimes we've tried things that no one else would have thought they were going to work out, and then they work.
It's interesting because I think sometimes when we're talking to restorers and stuff, like they've kind of been in these trenches for so long, they've stopped looking for better ways. Like, and they probably wouldn't say that. They wouldn't consciously say that out loud, but you can just tell by the environment that they create. It's like, we don't need new ideas. We just need you to do what we already do. And I think that there's value in that, obviously teaching systems and processes and all those kinds of things. But it is funny how, as an organization, we can get kind of stuck solving the same problem over and over again because we keep using some tired methodology to answer the problem. And our new team members can provide some perspective, that's helpful. For us, like building our company, it's all new to us. And so we're not so ingrained in what is. Like, we're pretty open to the fact that we are, we'd love some creative ideas because we don't have it all figured out. Is a lot of that at play? Like, obviously, Icon Restoration Company, around for a long time. Definitely systems and processes. We had an awesome opportunity to see a lot of those. Like, is there any differentiation? So you've got a system that's been around a long time. What is the creative quote, kind of mentality there versus at One Tom, where One Tom Plumber is fairly new? Like, you guys are still in the early phases of the development of the entity. Like, is that creativity, that openness to out-of-box thinking just ingrained and always been there? Or is some of that a little bit easier to do because One Tom's a newer entity?
I think it's always been there. And again, that comes from the leadership. That comes from Rocky, because that's just the way he grew his businesses and built his empire, if you will.
Yeah.
He has just always, he's really big on systems. He's the first person, you guys have probably heard it from him before. He says there's two reasons why a business fails. Either they don't have a system or they're not following their system or holding people accountable to that system. And so, systems and processes are 100% key, and they're ingrained in him, and they were in it at Icon and they're in it at One Top Plumber. But at the same time, he says we always have to be new. We always have to be inventive. We have to be creative. We have to stand out. There's a million restoration companies out there. We're competing with 15 of them in the Cincinnati market. Why are they going to choose Icon? What's our differentiator? What can we do to stand out? So we're always reinventing the wheel, if you will. The systems and the processes stay in place, but the creativity and the way that we do things needs to change with the times. And I think that's the exact same thing we've implemented at One Tom Plumber. Like, just because we started doing something a certain way, 4 years ago when we started franchising, doesn't mean that's the way we need to do it today. I mean, there are still processes we need to follow, but let's get creative. Let's find better ways to do things that are more streamlined, more cost effective, more beneficial to the franchisees, more just better.
One of the things that comes to my mind when you say that, I'm like, that sounds awesome. And then I'm like, man, change management. Like, teams get burnt when we're constantly changing things up. How do you guys ride that line? Like, how do you keep that balance between, hey, the team can trust that there are systems, right? They can let their guard down. They can just follow the system, the process, and though remain inventive and creative and able to, to improve, be agile. Like, how do you guys balance that?
I think that goes back to giving everybody a piece of ownership. If you give people, like, we don't have literal ownership of the company, but you make people feel vested in the company that you work with, the organization that you're part of, and that they have decision-making power, they have ownership. This is your business. This is your piece of the business to run. How can you make it better? What can we change? And asking, like we would talk to the franchise business coaches and say, hey, what do you guys think that we should do differently? And vice versa, so we play off of one another. But you're right. You have to still toe the line and follow the system and have boundaries, but we work together. Go ahead.
No, absolutely. And one of the things that we do is we exchange ideas with the other departments. They've never done sales before, but we still want to bring them to our sales meeting and pick their brains. What will you do different? What will you add? Like, how will you challenge us? And that challenge that keeps us going, and that healthy competition to try to do better as a team, that helps the team being more involved and coming up with new ideas. And we've been very lucky in our recruitment process that when we're finding these people, one of the things that Rocky says on the whole recruitment is we want something that comes to the office with a new idea every. So that's something we've been implementing, and we're lucky enough that everybody's coming with dozens of ideas every single day.
So that's a perfect segue. A lot of the people listening to the podcast right now, I think owners and leaders in the industry, plumbing or restoration or otherwise, like are thinking, okay, how, what do we do when we get somebody who's a misfit in the culture? And I think one of the things that feels really special with the time I've spent around you guys is, like, I remember riding in the one-ton Plumber limo back from Hickory to some after hours thing that we were doing. And I'm sitting next to Aaron and Alvaro, you're driving, and there was just this really awesome. Oh, we got an echo going. Yeah, it's like an animal that's getting irritated or something. Unpredictable. And it was just so fun. And I think listening to you guys talk, I think maybe one component of that is there doesn't feel like there's any fear on the team. Which is a big abstract statement, but it's like when people are kind of concerned about how they're being perceived, or they're afraid of what other people think and stuff, people, it's just different. And I just felt like, man, it doesn't feel like there's any fear across the team. Everybody likes each other. There's this really cohesive bond that is fun and energetic. But I imagine over the years, there's been some people that maybe fooled you guys in the interview process, or they came into that environment and they just couldn't hang. And I'm curious how you guys handled that as a team. Like, how did you guys address that when somebody's just kind of not fitting in the culture? And then a second question. So that's the first question, is when you've had a misfit that just doesn't jive with the butt tattoos and the good times.
I mean, not everybody wants to get fun, and we're okay with that.
Clearly.
Right. What do you do about that? But then also, how have you learned to screen for that in the recruiting process? So whichever one you want to tackle first. Yeah.
I know. I think that's a great question. Certainly, there have been misfits over the course of the years. I think they tend to naturally weed themselves out because since they are the misfits, they're the ones that's sort of outnumbered, if you will. And I don't think there's any negativity. There's nothing, there's no hazing going on. We're not pushing people out the door. But, when you get together and you have a culture meeting and everybody's sitting around talking about their weekends or sharing stories, and you've got that one individual in the room who doesn't want to share and who's not partaking, they're naturally ostracizing themselves. And, I think they realize just as much as we do, they're not in the right place, right? It's not a good fit. And eventually one person comes to the other, it's Rocky coming to them or them coming to us and saying, you know what, I just don't think this is the right fit for me. I'm like, yeah, I think you're right. Let's just agree to part ways.
Do you guys have, because I'm just thinking to myself, like, all of this sounds great, but it's so hard to, like, actually create intentionally and make happen intentionally, at least for some of us, right? It's a little bit bigger of a lift. Tools, techniques, phrases, like, what are some of the things that you guys have adopted internally that make it easier for you to align with this culture? Because he's so systematic. I know that there's things, right? So what are some of those in the toolkit?
We do something very unique when we want to onboard someone and bring him in our team and with the culture, and is we do a working day interview. So on that whole process, we ask them to come in the office for a full day. Different people in different departments takes them out to lunch. They ask like personal questions, get to know each other, and they see everything in one whole day. What the working day will be like, the culture meetings, they talk to everyone in the office. So everyone has a part on the recruitment process when they say that person could be a great fit or that person will not be a good fit. So we really try and make sure in advance that that person will fit right in with our culture just by bringing them in. And we just not do a couple phone calls or anything. We want to make sure that they get a full understanding of what one ton plumber is, who we are, and what we're trying to do and achieve. And then they come on board and the culture, it's already a fit.
So how
So
does
working.
that? I would just real quick, Leah, and maybe you can add to this too. Is what that person's got to be prepared to do that well. Like just telling somebody on your team, hey, somebody's going to come in and shadow you all day. Like I'm assuming there's a proactive approach to that, right? Where that individual knows the role, they understand what they're doing, and the intentionality of that shadow day. Like kind of walk us through that, just so we have a little bit more concrete perspective on what's happening in that.
Well, and rather than this individual coming in and shadowing one person for the day, we have them spending time with each individual department, understanding what that department does and how each of our departments interact and work together. And so every person on our team is essentially interviewing that person. So at the end of the day, we can get the buy-in from everybody that in the company as to whether they think this person's a good fit. So it's not just one or two people hiring an individual and saying, I hope they work with everybody. We're getting everybody's buy-in by having them shadow everyone throughout the day.
And you can tell that they want it really bad because when they walk in, they're seeing all pink. This is not something that everybody gets to see everywhere in any common corporate or office. They come in, they see the pink plunger, they see all pink everywhere. So you can tell by the way they're engaging that they really want to be part of it. And that's something that we're really looking forward on these new candidates that are coming in, that they want it.
It's interesting, this thought of people being introduced right out of the gate to multiple departments. So one of the things that a lot is common in service companies, and certainly common in restoration companies, is just these extreme silos between divisions, department teams, and stuff like that. And one of the things that we did very early on was we wanted to prioritize the idea that when somebody got their first day, essentially with the company, they're going to have an opportunity to meet and sit with other team members, and so that the same thing, they can see how they're interdependent on one another. Like, what is your role going to do to set this team up for success, or potentially create friction if we don't do the whole job, right? Because it's so common in our industry, is like folks do about 70% of the job and we keep them anyways. And I think what I'm hearing you guys say is, not only is it really powerful from an interviewing perspective to get a really good look at this prospect, but I think also it sets a tone. Like, this is a team that's interdependent on one another, and we don't exist in a silo, and our actions have an effect on the people around us. And I think just that in and of itself is a really important principle to set the stage for right out of the gate.
It absolutely is. And we set our interviewees up for this. I mean, we tell them, you're here for the whole day. You're meeting with every department member. We've got to you need to be 100% in, and we want to be 100%. This doesn't work if both parties isn't 100% in. And that's just our philosophy. I mean, that's the way that we look at the whole franchise network. When we're bringing in a new franchisee, you need to make sure you're 100% in and we're 100% in, or it doesn't work.
Yeah. Alvaro, you kind of referred to that as a working interview, and this is sort of a trendy topic. I forget, I was at some conference of technology people, and they were talking about, even with coders, like software engineers, that a lot of times they'll have them like do lines of code. Like, before they ever get hired, they have them solve a problem so they can kind of see how they work and stuff. Is that a component of it? Like, do you guys find ways to actually have that person sort of contribute and engage in real business conversations kind of around the function they're getting interviewed for? How is that a working interview? Or is it, and there's no wrong answer here, or is it more of a dog and pony show? Of the whole company. You
No,
understand the question?
you're complete. Yes, no, you're completely right. I'll give you an example on our marketing team. Aaron, for example, that you know, like it's one of the things that he implemented, and which is a working interview on the marketing side. If we have designers, they're gonna be sitting there and making new concepts, new videos for One Ton Plumber, TikTok, some Instagram reels, and on the part of the interviews at the very end, once they have finalized those videos, we're gonna review it, and then we're gonna decide if that's also part of the things that we're going to be doing in the future for us.
Okay. So they're actually providing creative input. Like in that example, you got somebody you're hiring for the marketing team. You're asking for their feedback, and they're talking out loud about, well, here's what I think, or here's what I do. They're contributing to the conversation.
Yeah, we're paying them for a day's worth of work. So it is a true working interview where we're asking them to come in and create particular content for like Instagram or TikTok or what have you, and we will pay them for what they created.
That's
No.
pretty sweet, actually.
I think that's a growing edge for all restoration service companies, is perfecting that. Because I would imagine it's incredibly powerful. By the time you get to the end of that day, you guys have such a rich experience with them. You've seen them nervous.
Oh yeah.
You've seen them scared. You've seen them, goofing. You've seen them feeling awkward, right? You've seen kind of this whole spectrum of the person.
You've seen it all, and when they're like saying doing all those new creative pieces of work for One Ton Plumber, you can see whole new world, different perspective and ideas that these people are bringing in. And just by them coming in, let's say we're interviewing 10 people, the marketing team is shadowing things that they've never seen before. And that is bringing also whole new ideas to the team as well. So we're constantly learning from others and getting all those pieces of work implemented to our own content.
That's really interesting, actually. I didn't even think about it from that perspective, kind of some additional like net gains. Can we talk social media for just a moment?
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of left field compared to where we've been, but when we came out and met with you guys the first time, part of what was really exciting was meeting your guys' digital marketing team. And not only was there a little army of them, but they were all like super young and fresh, and like we kind of like they were students of the game. Right, like they're good because they know how to use it. It's like native to them, right?
Uh-huh.
And it's like what we noticed right out of the gate is you guys leveraged heavily into social media right out of the gate as part of your branding strategy. And it's one of these things, like we did a similar thing as consulting, like as we were building the consulting brand at Floodlight, but struggled with that when we were operators, like on the restoration side. And even now, like there are a few teams, just maybe dependent on where the owner's from or kind of background and skill set. But in general, this still seems like one of those places that's difficult for companies to identify why the spend is valuable. And I can just speak from our experience, like, you ask yourself a lot of questions in the beginning, when at the end of the day, all you need is the phone to ring, and yet you're still putting this content out and it's not necessarily getting the phone to ring day one. Like, it makes you second guess every minute that you spend on social media, to be honest. And even today, well into our growth, we still have to remind ourselves why we're doing it. And so can you guys just give us some perspective on what made you lean into that right out of the gate? Because again, you're selling to restorers, right, who are already struggling with native use of social media. But like, what drove you to do that? And then two, how do you continue to identify the return on that spend and that engagement, because you continue to build that team and invest in it? I just would love your guys' operational perspective on that.
I think Cameron would be better suited to answer this question because he was the real driver behind it. Really big on social media from day one. But one of the things that we know and understand is in the service industry, people make decisions on the service industry, the vendor they're going to choose based off of Google reviews. People are very, very Google loyal, if you will. They're going to Google who's the best plumbing company, who's the best restoration company, what have you. And so we understand that Google is truly the driving force of that. And so getting those 5-star Google reviews is key. And the way that we know how to drive that is through the digital content, through all of the Instagram, the TikTok, and the YouTube and Facebook and all of this stuff that we invest a lot of time and resources in, at the end of the day, it helps drive the Google business profile and the Google reviews. And, you know, that's the driving force. That's what makes our phone, when our franchise
So it really is to
opens the
facilitate
door, they
that.
want the phone.
It's
Go ahead.
really
Absolutely.
to facilitate that growth. Okay, that makes more sense to me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the funny things is like the more disgusting the video is, the more likes and views it's gonna get.
I was just gonna say, you guys have some of the most clever and disgusting social media
So
content
true.
on the internet. So,
But it's
I
all
think
about capturing those viewers, and it is branding with them, and they will remember us, even if it is disgusting.
And it is quite interesting how the team sometimes is gonna come to you with these facts that you've never heard before, but it's one of those things that you're like, yeah, you really do learn something new every single day, even though it's about toilets and sewer water, but it's something new every single day.
oh yeah, I saw a post that Johnny Gabe in Des Moines, Iowa, he posted, and I was really glad I hadn't eaten lunch yet. Because it forced my eyeballs to investigate, and then I thought, oh, I'm a little sorry I clicked on that post.
And that's probably getting hundreds of thousands of views.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
think it's a good lesson for all of us. That I'm glad you guys brought that up, because it is something that we walked away with, and every once in a while I'll catch myself getting something from you guys in our feed, and it really is like you guys just didn't do the whole like before and after our work site, and like, here's the
Right.
quality of our job. You went right into the let's be right on the edge. Let's get a little crazy. Let's grab people's attention. Let's not take ourselves too seriously. And by the way, you guys are guarded that your client's name and address is not posted alongside your videos, but it's just they're great videos, and they certainly stop you in your tracks. And so for those of you that are listening, like, a lot of you are struggling to do what to do with your social media, and we've talked a lot about, hey, you should really be highlighting the internal culture, highlight your team and their success and what they're doing, because then that makes it a lot easier to recruit later. And honestly, people are going to buy from you when your culture's healthy, not because of your before and after shots of your job. That we've talked about a lot, but what we haven't talked about is being really creative with what you're capturing, and people's morbid curiosity does pay off.
Yes,
So
it
it's
does.
like grosser the video. Be careful with OSHA team, but grosser the video, more likely somebody's going to stop, and you will remain in their memory banks. That is for
And,
certain.
and Chris, you mentioned about how that social media language is native for the digital team, and I agree with that statement because it really is. Because when you ask them questions about it, how are you guys capturing that audience? Like, what is the niche that you guys are looking for? They know all these verbiage and language on algorithms that we had no idea that it was even a thing.
Yeah.
So they know what is going to get viewed, what is going to get liked, what is going to be out there and become viral.
Yeah.
So they study all these codes, niches, and even music videos, hashtags, every word, key, anything. And they get it out there, and it's viewed by thousands and thousands of people every day. And by adding that one-tone plumber content that, once again, is pretty gross here and there.
You guys are doing a lot of the right things, and it's just getting people's attention. And of course, that's what works, is the stuff that commands people's attention. There's so many distractions. It's hard to get our brands out there in front of people, and you guys have certainly figured out a formula.
Oh yeah, it's huge.
Well, listen, guys, I think we could go on for another hour or two. It's really fun talking
Probably.
to you, and we're going to inevitably make some more time in the future to have some more chat. But this has been great. We've covered a lot of ground. It's so fun finding these unique cultures, right, in the industry. And I think for the people listening, there was a lot of stuff here that they can grab onto and be like, all right, we could do more of this in our business, or we could test that out in our space. So I appreciate everything you guys have shared. If people if they want to know more about One Tom Plumber, what's the best way for them to find out more about the One Tom Plumber franchise?
And they can really just go to our onetompplumber.com website. There is a link off of that to 1tpfranchise.com, so they can learn about the franchise side, or they can just go to the onetompplumber.com website to see all of the locations that we have operating and locations that are coming.
Yeah, right on.
I would also say, just to add to that, like follow their socials. So like guys, even if you're not seriously looking at, what does it look like to become part of the One Tom family, there's still a lot to learn.
Oh yeah.
And one of the things that we've seen about Rocky and your team in general, you guys aren't abundance is your mentality. So it's like, sign on, follow their socials. There's some really great working examples for us to follow and initiate in our own organizations, and that's certainly free. There's no commitment on your part, just to follow and get some good creative ideas. So,
And are you guys both on LinkedIn?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So find Alvaro and Leah on LinkedIn and follow their ventures. And anyway, this has been a great chat, guys.
It has
Thank
been
you.
great. Thank
No,
you for
thank you
having
for
us on
having
the
us.
show. It's been
Yeah,
fun.
of course.
A quick question: am I gonna have captions? Because sometimes with my accent, I mess things up.
I'm actually going to be in the bottom corner signing everything that you said.
So you're gonna be like
It's
doing
100%.
things. All right.
That's
Yeah.
exactly
I saw
right.
the look on your faces a few times when you had no idea what you said.
Yeah. Hey, you've got to tell everybody your nickname because it's pretty widely used internally.
The Spanish assassin.
There you go, guys. That is an example.
Thank you, Rocky, for giving me that name. But thank you, guys. This was awesome with Chris, Brandon. I will see you guys next week at the RIA. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
We will see
we're
you
pretty
soon.
excited for that.
All right.
Looking
Right on,
forward to
guys.
it.
All right.
thanks for
Have a
listening.
great day. Thanks, guys.